Welcome to my alma mater, the place where I have spent the last 30 years of my life. Here, I grew from a child into a teenager. I got my bachelor's, my law degree, and I later became a professor. My ultimate dream. All this happened in one sole place, the Colegio Mayor de Nuestra Señora del Rosario, a school and university with over 350 years of history. It was within these walls where my thoughts and my interest about education and knowledge grew and transformed, and currently continue to evolve. Moving back in time, I remember my parents. I've been lucky to belong to a family of loving parents who also had the opportunity to be educated. However, in their times, the most important thing regarding education was to attend classes, pass the courses, and obtain a college or university diploma. Knowledge and education were a duty, a requirement in order to enjoy a responsible and stable life. Neither my parents nor their peers obtained from their education critical thinking or change management lessons. New knowledge creation was limited. The truth was only one, the one seen in the books, and knowledge and religion were mixed with no clear boundaries between the two. Moving forward in time, I was born in 1979 in Bogota, Colombia. Andres Rubiano, future professor. From an early age, I conceived knowledge as something fun, thanks to my parents and the many stories and books that entertained my early years. At that time, fantasy and magic were my breakfast and my favorite pillow for a good night's sleep. But everything changed when I entered school. I never understood why I was forced to memorize so many concepts and accept knowledge as it came. I must say that the best knowledge I acquired was when I finished school and began to travel the world and experience different cultures. That knowledge, in which I could learn by meeting a handful of people, friends, fellow travelers, train passengers, and teachers, among others, helped me to understand what I believe are the two most important components of knowledge: human beings and fun. This belief motivated me to become a teacher. I never abandoned the dream of becoming a teacher, one that was fun and, above all, human. I've been a teacher over 10 years in the universities teaching business and logistics. From my experience, I've learned that knowledge is now and therefore is always changing. It has been my duty to adapt my classes to students who are living in the present and constructing their own future and ruling their own life. People call this generation of students millennials. I believe there are 5 key components in my classes that appeal to them and facilitate the construction of new knowledge. Number 1. Teaching with passion to transform people. Millennials think and act with passion for what they want. People believe that the mission teachers have is to share knowledge. I think teachers have the mission that goes far beyond. In our interaction with the students, we have the opportunity to search for the unique and special trait that each student has and teach with the purpose of transforming human beings. This higher purpose for teachers is what motivates us to give our 100% in classes, to communicate passion in each of our words and seek the creation of new knowledge in the students through their own transformations. Carl Rogers, in his learning studies, stressed the importance of the teacher-student relation, stating that teachers should become facilitators of learning rather than didactic transmitters of information. Also, I believe it is important for the students to know the life story of the teachers and find in this story elements that will encourage them to move forward, to undertake their dreams and think big. Professors with parallel activities to teaching can enrich their classes with diverse contributions, contexts, real-life examples, and different points of view and experiences. Therefore, through their life stories, teachers nurture their classes and become important life references for their students. The most appropriate way to engage in conversation and try to establish a connection with a millennial is to treat him as an individual, not a number, not a code, but a human being who suffers and enjoys like any other. Each student is a person whose story deserves to be heard. In my class, all my students have the chance to be themselves. Who are you? Why are you in this class? What are your expectations about this class? What is your dream? These are the most important questions that I begin my lectures with. For me to connect with the students means to understand the uniqueness in each one of them. Students come to class by themselves, and not for a program or a title. They come to find their dreams and learn how to achieve them. The teacher who takes the time to understand and recognize the motivations within his students opens the door to new knowledge in the unique learning process of every human being. The latter is confirmed by the Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky, who affirmed in his studies that learning is not only a single event, but a social and cultural process that relies on the construction based on experience and the guidance of the teacher. For me, the best moments of my life were when my mom read stories to me at night when I was a child. At that time, television was only for the weekends. Although many things have changed, I still think the best way to transfer and generate new knowledge is through the stories, through anecdotes that share knowledge through personal narratives. Stories about life, about my personal experience, about other cultures and countries, case studies, stories from subject matter experts, and videos have been invaluable tools for my classes and have allowed my students to embrace knowledge as an experience of their own. In 1995, Kenneth Gergen, American psychologist, driver of a social constructivism, stated that knowledge doesn't reside in the individual, but in society, in language, and in the interpersonal dialogue. I believe stories are the language spoken by society. In my experience, I have found that generating an environment of collaboration and competition is beneficial to motivate the students' effort and thus the generation of new knowledge in the students. This line of thought became important with an article in Time magazine that included the sharing economy as one of the 10 ideas that would change the world. For millennials, there is a strong preference for sharing instead of owning, and this concept is vital for learning in the classrooms. Each semester, my classes begin with a point-based system in which students earn points for sharing knowledge with others, coming to class on time, presenting papers and assignments, and walking the extra mile. This point system also rewards innovation and new ideas and research that the students bring to the classroom. At the end, these points are converted and become into a kind of currency that appreciates the effort of each student and promotes cooperation and healthy competition within this small community that has just met. Millennials are aware of topics such as social responsibility and the environment, and constantly question political and religious institutions. The American philosopher John Dewey began to recognize the importance of understanding the individual learner as an actor rather than a spectator in the learning process. Similarly, the main concept of the Swiss psychologist Jean Piaget was that the human mind builds and internalizes a model of how the world functions only through the experience. In countries such as Colombia, with many social challenges, asking students to be part of the solution has been for me the most effective tool in the creation of new knowledge. For example, in our business class, I invite the students to leave the classroom and visit for one day poor neighborhoods in the city in order to understand the different needs and see how business really works in emerging countries like ours. Another example of connection with reality in order to drive new knowledge takes place in my logistics class. Each semester, I ask students as a homework to prepare children's books explaining in educational form the way in which logistics work. We then take these books and visit children living in poor neighborhoods and teach the kids the relevant content. Also, in our international logistics class, the students had the greatest opportunity to create new knowledge when we worked with the NGO Swiss Contact in designing a booklet guide with the required steps to export cocoa in our country. This booklet guide has helped many local cocoa producers in Tumaco, one of the poorest regions in the south of Colombia, who are now exporting directly their produce and have eliminated the need for intermediaries. This project allowed many rural families to reach global markets with a simple and practical guide that showed them the required steps to export. The exporting booklet was launched at the National Cocoa Colombia Gold Award, and the work was all done by the students in class. Learning by contributing to real problems with real solutions has been for the students an unforgettable experience. It is the task of us as teachers to look for this type of learning opportunities and propose a change in the traditional learning through textbooks and get out and learn in the real world.
Un día antes de este evento que les comenté, tuvimos un almuerzo donde asistieron gran parte de los agricultores, gente que en verdad se va a la tierra, cultiva. Entonces, ver que esta gente nos agradecía sin conocernos, simplemente nos decían muchísimas gracias por pensar en nosotros. Para muchas personas nosotros no existimos, porque el cacao que exporta Colombia lo exporta una organización muy grande. Entonces, si no lo exportan ellos, nosotros solos no podemos. Tener la ayuda de ustedes, también estaba ProColombia con ellos, entonces tener la ayuda tanto de Swisscontact como de ProColombia para que ellos pudieran exportar, pues en verdad les generaba mucha emoción, se sentían importantes. Simplemente fue, apostémosle a algo nuevo, vamos a hacer algo que cambie la perspectiva que ustedes tienen de la vida, algo que les aporte. Entonces, creo que el papel de Andrés de ser tan visionario, de querer enseñar más allá de lo que puede enseñar un libro, es importante. Entonces yo en verdad le agradezco a él por habernos sacado de la clase, por decirlo así.
One month ago, I became a father, and this has been the most amazing journey as well as a radical change in my life in every aspect. I don't sleep the same, I don't eat the same, and even my tone of voice has changed. While trying to put Tomás in bed during the night, a new question sparked in my mind. How will new knowledge creation be for my child in 15 years' time? I made the exercise to travel in time and imagine Tomás 15 years from today in year 2032. An idea echoed in my head. Tomás in that year would be part of a new generation called the Subliminals. The Subliminals, an idea that remained in my mind after that night, is the generation of the people born between 2016, the verge of the fourth Industrial Revolution, and 2036. I imagine this generation will have three main characteristics. First, a high sensibility for the future of humanity. A responsibility for environmental protection and care for all living creatures. All productive and service processes, private or public, will be compelled to be responsible. No more immune companies to public opinion. No more outrages. Second, an elevated critical capacity. These new students will no longer be satisfied with the information and knowledge available in internet. From an early age, they will be immersed in a more flexible education system. They will criticize everything and ask all types of questions. There won't be an absolute truth. Instead, there will be several approaches to the truth. Third, leisure and entertainment. Yes, I truly believe that education should be fun. For Subliminals, this will be an implicit requirement, with so many possibilities for pleasure and entertainment in those times. They will demand for their education to be equally appealing, and teachers will have the task to fulfill this demand. I would like to close with a reflection on the importance of us teachers to prepare starting now to impart knowledge to these new generations. Subliminals will see the world differently, and so must be the teachers and institutions. I think that the universities will become the key institutions to connect business, students, governments all over the world in order to solve problems. Universities will be fundamental for the students to achieve their dreams and will be the main centers of creation of new knowledge. For instance, word problem resolutions and the creation of that new knowledge will be worked through technological platforms of collaboration among peers around different locations worldwide. In 15 years' time, the construction of new knowledge will be through virtual reality machines in which students can experience live moments, like for example, visiting the logistic distribution centers in Amazon or Zara, without having to move from the classrooms. I imagine educational content to be chosen by each student based on their personal preferences and reviews from around the world. Thanks to technology and social media, teachers will know firsthand the motivations and preferences of each of their students. Thus, teachers will have powerful tools to position themselves as facilitators of the dreams and aspirations of their students in a more personalized way than never before. Through social media and various connecting devices, the different interaction of the students will be known. Their relation with their family, friends, sports, work, hobbies, emotion, and spirituality. With this knowledge, educational content will be custom-made according to the type of intelligence the individual has and to the key areas where he can easily flow and develop. This content will be visual, appealing, and will use, for example, music, art, and sensibility to reach the individual. The future is definitely uncertain, but in the case of my son, Tomás, future is already a reality. As a parent, I'm already part of his formation and education. I shall continue to teach him and my students with passion, connection to the human being, collaboration and safe competition, storytelling and real life experiences. And despite all the advances that the future will bring, the fundamentals of education shall remain: values, responsibility, and freedom for Tomás and my students to decide the best path that will make them happy.